It is the late 1960s, and John Lennon has fallen in love with Yoko Ono. His marriage to Cynthia Lennon has come to an end, and their son Julian is witnessing his parents' divorce. Paul McCartney is journeying to Weybridge in his Aston Martin to console Cynthia and Julian. On his hour-long trip to the Weybridge house, Paul turns off his car radio and sings to himself gently, "Hey Jules, don't make it bad. Take a sad song and make it better." A hopeful message to comfort Julian was on its way to becoming one of the most astounding compositions in music history. This is the story of the biggest selling debut release for a label ever, Hey Jude. I thought, as a friend of the family, I would motor out to Weybridge and tell them that everything was all right, to try and cheer them up and see how they were. I had about an hour's drive, and I would always turn the radio off and try to make up songs, just in case. I started singing, "Hey Jules, don't make it bad, take a sad song and make it better." It was optimistic, a hopeful message for Julian. "Come on man, your parents got divorced, I know you're not happy, but you'll be okay." I eventually changed Jules to Jude. One of the characters in Oklahoma is called Judd, and I like the name.
Hello, Judd.
Hello yourself.
A divorce inevitably takes a toll on everyone involved, but frequently children can face the brunt of the confusion. Historically, Julian Lennon has often stated that he and his father John were estranged.
He went off in another direction. I didn't see him much at all. And you know,
From 3 or 4 years old?
Yeah,
Oh,
I maybe saw him 4, maybe 8 times at the most before his death.
However, he and Paul had an incredible relationship, arguably better than Julian did with John. When Julian and Paul had a chance to discuss the song Hey Jude, Julian recounts what he and Paul spoke of. He told me that he'd been thinking about my circumstances all those years ago, about what I was going through. Paul and I used to hang out a bit, more than Dad and I did. We had a great friendship going, and there seemed to be far more pictures of me and Paul playing together at that age than there are of pictures of me and Dad. The Lennon-McCartney songwriting duo always had this illustrious duality to it, where one, say Paul, was bright and optimistic. Oftentimes, John's contributions could be more cynical and pessimistic, creating a balance that undoubtedly makes for remarkable lyrics. If Paul suggests, "It's getting better all the time," John returns with, "It can't get no worse." But it would seem that that duality existed outside of the songwriting, especially in those younger years, where John was a distant father, perhaps concentrating on his work. Paul was there to give guidance and company to young Julian Lennon. Interestingly, John's perspective on Hey Jude gave us a rare glimpse into how he viewed the situation, alluding to the idea that Paul maybe wrote Hey Jude for John himself, as well as Julian. John says, "He said it was written about Julian, my child. He'd been like an uncle to him, you know. Paul was always very good with kids. And so he came up with Hey Jude. But I always heard it as a song to me. If you think about it, Yoko's just come into the picture. He says Hey Jude, hey John." I know I'm sounding like one of those fans who reads into things, but you can hear it as a song to me. The words, "Go out and get her." Subconsciously, he was saying, "Go ahead, leave me." On a conscious level, he didn't want me to go ahead. The angel in him was saying, "Bless you." The devil in him didn't like it at all because he didn't want to lose his partner. That is an interesting interpretation of the song. And as fans, we have to wonder, is there more going on in these lyrics than just about consoling Julian Lennon? Was Paul really referring to John as well? I would love to hear what you all have to say in the comments. But speaking about John and Yoko, John said he had nothing to do with the composition of Hey Jude, although he absolutely loved the song, saying, "Hey Jude is a damn good set of lyrics and I made no contribution to that." But Paul actually does remember a collaboration happening when he just about finished writing it. He says, "I finished it all up in Cavendish and I was in the music room upstairs when John and Yoko came to visit, and they were right behind me over my right shoulder. And when I got to the line, 'The movement you need is on your shoulder,' I looked over my shoulder and I said, 'I'll change that. It's a bit crummy. I was just blocking it out.' And John said, 'You won't, you know. That's the best line in it.' That's collaboration. When someone's that firm about a line that you're going to junk and he said, 'No, keep it in.' So of course you like that line twice as much. I love those words now. When I'm singing it, that is when I think of John. When I hear myself singing that line, it's an emotional point in the song. So John Lennon gives Paul his blessing on the song, and now it's time to bring it to the band for further instrumentation and eventually record it. And even though most people there, including George Martin, said it was an incredible experience, it wasn't without its fair share of difficulty and even some comedy. First, the infamous argument between Paul and George Harrison. When they began to suss out how exactly everything should flow and when certain instruments should come in, Paul and George were playing the song together. And when Paul would sing "Hey Jude," George would answer with a few notes on the guitar. Then Paul would continue with "Don't make it bad," and George responded again. Paul thought it wasn't appropriate just at the beginning of the song and gave George some criticism.
Okay, well, I don't mind. I'll play, whatever you want me to play. Or I won't play at all if you don't want me to play. No, whatever it is that please you, I'll do it.
Paul says about the altercation, "I did want to insist that there shouldn't be an answering guitar phrase in Hey Jude, and that was important to me. But of course, if you tell a guitarist that, he's not as keen on the idea as you are." The second hiccup was from our boy Ringo, who needed to use the restroom and no one noticed that he had gone away. So they begin to record, and of course Ringo's not there, but it's okay because the drums don't come in for a while. Suddenly, Ringo Starr is tiptoeing behind Paul, struggling to get to his drums, and nails it. Comes in perfectly on time. Paul said, "Oh fuck, this has got to be the take. What just happened was so magic." So we did that and we made a pretty good record. And finally, it wouldn't be a Beatles record without absurd or hilarious little sounds from the boys. John Lennon incorrectly said, "let her into" instead of "let her under your skin." Well, being upset he messed up what would have been a perfect take otherwise, he hollers, "Oh!" and then says, "Fucking hell." That unedited mistake is still played on the radio till this day.
Let her under your skin, then you begin to make it better.
Hey Jude was released, and coming in at 7 minutes long was the longest song to top the British charts. And it has a very special place in my heart because it's the first song my dad ever taught me to sing, even though I couldn't pronounce the words that well.
Put your hat on and put your scarf away.
Hey Jude will always be one of my favorite songs of all time because it's a perfect example of the positivity the Beatles brought to the table. Thank you all so much for watching, and as usual, I'm going to leave you with a song from my brand new album. See you next time. Bye. If I should go blind, I wouldn't mind. I'd rather feel you and tell you that you still look nice. If you couldn't hear, I'd still sing songs and tap the beat on your palm, and you could tap along. Let me witness you all your life. Let me witness you as you rise. If I couldn't keep
day if you're stolen away. The hell I'd raise, the risks I'd take to be sure you're safe. Let me witness you as you run